I'm certainly going to have to look for the video of this. A combative Donald Trump testifies in his $250 million civil fraud trial. Trump wasted little time before complaining about the Democratic haters while answering questions about his business before a judge. He's blasted as totally unhinged. I'm sure that this is going to be some great reality TV. Loser President Donald Trump took to the witness stand in a New York courtroom Monday, testifying in a high stakes $250 million civil fraud case that could lead to the dismantling of his sprawling business empire. Trump was sworn in shortly after the court was called in session and was soon ranting about the lawyer questioning him from State Attorney General Letitia James's office. You and every other Democrat coming after me from 15 different sides, all haters. Trump is testifying before the state Supreme Court Judge Arthur Engoron, who he has repeatedly mocked on his social media platform, Truth Social. In recent days, he posted that Engoron is crazy, totally unhinged, and dangerous, and a Trump-hating judge who is a disgrace to the legal profession. In one post, he said Engoron should be thrown off the bench as a giant embarrassment to New York State. Trump wasted little time mixing it up with the judge from the stand as well. After the judge chided him for giving non responsive answers, Trump said, the judge will rule against me because he will always rule against me. The judge said that the judge says that comment was not true and asked Trump to please answer the question. You can attack me all you want, but just answer the question. After more tangents, he told Trump's lawyers, I beseech you to control him. This is not a political rally. When Trump's lawyer said he should be allowed to talk, the judge said, "We are not here. We are not here to hear what he has to say. We are here to have him answer questions." He warned that if Trump failed to answer questions, I will take every negative inference that I can. There is no jury, so Engoron will be the one who ultimately decides the outcome of this trial, including whether Trump, his sons, and his company should pay any penalties. This is a very unfair trial, very unfair. I hope the public is watching. Trump complained after the judge told him to answer the question. Why are you going to poke the bear, especially since this bear is the only one putting down a judgment? That's wild to me. Trump also used his time on the stand to complain that the AG's office had undervalued his Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago. The Attorney General's office had noted the Palm Beach County assessor appraised its market value to be $18 million to $27.6 million from 2011 to 2021, while Trump's balance sheet puts its value at $426 million to $612 million. Wow, that is a very big difference. A number Trump testified he thought was just too low. The values are far bigger, way bigger than they are on the financial statements, Trump said, adding it was 50 to 100 times more valuable than the AG said. I don't know how you got that number, calling it absolutely crazy. The courtroom was at full capacity ahead of the trial, with the number of photographers in the hallway outside the highest it had been since the beginning of the trial. Some friends of the judge and his clerk sat in the front row of the courtroom, excited to witness history. Trump's previous sworn testimony related to the case had already been problematic for him. He was first deposed when James was investigating the case in 2022 and invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination close to 450 times. He was deposed again in April after James filed her bombshell suit alleging that he and his company inflated their assets to the tune of billions of dollars to get more favorable rates from banks and insurance. And his answers there are likely to be a guidepost about how he'll be questioned on Monday, which is today. So we'll have to look at video. Trump spent about 7 hours in the deposition answering questions from the Attorney General's office and disavowing responsibility for the annual statements of his financial condition, which say Donald J. Trump is responsible for the preparation and the fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. The AG's office maintains he strayed far from accepted accounting principles, but Trump testified that he trusted the accountants who compiled the statements and that many instances he thought his properties were being undervalued. Trump told James's office at the trial, "We're going to have numbers that are going to knock your socks off. Your numbers are so incorrect. They're actually so low, your numbers." Engoron cited some of Trump's deposition testimony in his summary judgment, finding him liable for fraud before the trial on October 2nd. The defenses Donald Trump attempts to articulate in his sworn deposition are wholly without basis in fact or law. Trump also went on rally-style tangents during his deposition, speaking about offshore windmills in Scotland. He said they're probably killing whales, which are washing up to shore, which nobody has ever seen before. Many whales are crying. yeah, I'm sorry. This dude is off his rocker. Off his rocker. Who cares about whales in Scotland and windmills? Anyways, this is going to be very interesting. Y'all know that I will be watching. Are you watching? Go ahead, jump in the comments and chime in on your thoughts on this trial. Ex-Obama strategist David Axelrod warns Biden it's time to decide after dismal 2024 poll. Axelrod, one of the architects of Barack Obama's two victorious presidential campaigns, suggested that Joe Biden should reconsider running for re-election in the wake of a dismal new poll that shows Donald Trump leading in 5 swing states. In 2019, Axelrod called Biden perhaps the strongest candidate against Trump in what at the time was still an emerging Democratic field. But he wrote on X Sunday that there is legitimate concern this time around as he shared some of the poll's findings. It's very late to change horses. A lot will happen in the next year that no one can predict. And Biden's team says his resolve to run is firm. He's defied CW before, but this will send tremors of doubt through the party, not bedwetting, but legitimate concern. So if you look at this poll down here, it looks like Trump, according to this poll, is leading in Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So it looks like Biden has a slight lead in Wisconsin. To be clear, it is very, very early in this process, and polls at this particular juncture are very unreliable. Okay. However, Axelrod noted Biden's biggest liability among voters is the one thing he can't change. That's his age. Biden turns 81 later this month, and Axelrod said the age arrow only points in one direction. Axelrod said Biden should be proud of what he has achieved, but warned of the consequences of miscalculating against Trump, who he calls a dangerous, unhinged demagogue. He said only Biden can make the call on continuing his campaign. What he needs to decide is whether that is wise, whether it's in his best interest or the country. David Axelrod also said on Twitter, yes, there is also risk associated with changing course now, as there's little time for a primary campaign, and campaigns are how we test candidates, but there is a lot of leadership talent in the Democratic Party poised to emerge. Biden's campaign has dismissed the poll. We will win in 2024 by putting our heads down and doing the work, not by fretting about a poll. So I am not sure how things will go. Yes, he is 81, and yes, he is being seen kind of nodding off. And yeah, we do have lots of time to get up to 2024, but now is the time to figure this out. Is he the horse that we're going to have to bet on, or what? So you guys can go ahead, let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Are you guys watching what's going on in Ohio for Election Day tomorrow? I certainly am. Smamortion providers brace themselves ahead of Ohio vote. It's just terrifying. When Annie Boyle picked up the phone, the woman on the other line wanted to know what's going on with Ohio's Smamortion referendum. As a patient advocate at preterm, a sprawling Smamortion clinic in Cleveland, Ohio, Boyle is used to the confusion over Ohio's 6-week ban, which took effect shortly after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. But it's now on hold. I'm old. I don't need a smamortion, the woman on the phone said, but she sounded disturbed by the ban. 6 weeks? The woman exclaimed, according to Boyle, who recounted the call. What if I was great? On Tuesday, Ohioans will head to the polls to vote on Issue 1, a proposal to enshrine smamortion into the state constitution. The stakes are high. If issue 1 fails, some abortion rights supporters suspect that Ohio Supreme Court will reinstate the 6-week ban. It does not include exceptions for pregnancies resulting from rape or incest. I don't know anyone who's not scared, said Shri Taki Tequila Pati. Sorry, the clinic's executive director. There's a kind of moral injury that comes with fighting so hard to provide this care because you think it's the right thing, and then not being able to do it and having to turn literally hundreds of people away each week. Staffers at preterm are haunted by the memories of the 6-week ban, which was in effect for just under 3 months before the state court blocked it. The day Roe fell, they had just a few hours before Ohio moved to implement it. They rushed to squeeze in as many procedures as possible. At one point, a doctor performed a smomortion on his knees because he couldn't grab a stool quickly enough. One preterm staffer recalled. The clinic's senior staff stayed late into the night to call patients and cancel their upcoming appointments. Some people were completely devastated, screaming, crying on the phone, recalled Kelsey Bowman, preterm's director of operations. As empathetic human beings, you're just like, this is awful, this is the worst. I'm having to tell somebody they can't receive the care here and they have to go out of state. And then so many people were saying, I can't possibly do that. A court paused the ban in September 2022. A year later, the Ohio Supreme Court heard arguments in the case, but the justices have not yet ruled. Over the months that the ban was in effect, some abortion fell by 60% at preterm. Tequila Potty said. After the courts froze the ban, preterm employees called the patients who were still early enough in their pregnancies to get one. Many of them had gone out of state, and the people who didn't came back and had a smomortion here. They hadn't changed their mind. They didn't want to continue their pregnancy. They just were being forced to be pregnant. Preterm is among the first legal smomortion clinics in the United States. A group of women opened the clinic in March 1974, months before U.S. women gained the right to open credit cards in their own name. Now, preterm normally performs smomortion up to 21 weeks of pregnancy and accounts for somewhere between a fifth and a fourth of all smomortions in Ohio. Preterm appeared to be back to business as usual. Staffers and scrubs worked briskly, bringing ginger ale to patients who had just undergone a procedure and helping patients who were preparing for the procedure stretch out on top of couches and under heating pads. Others manned the phone lines in the call center softly, answering questions about the morning after pills, ultrasounds, and periods. However, reminders of the referendum were everywhere. The street outside preterm was littered with at least a dozen signs urging people to vote either for and against issue 1. A handful of protesters milled amongst the issue 1 signs and carried signs of their own. One woman stood near the clinic driveway with a sign that read, "It's not too late to change your mind." A bright yellow poster that read, "Stop unaliving babies here," and "Mommy, let me live" were propped up near the clinic. Bellamy Morales, a preterm patient advocate, accessorized their bright blue Taylor Swift cardigan with a shirt bearing the words "Ohioans for Reproductive Freedom," a name of the coalition backing issue 1. The stress of the ban and the chance that it might cost them their job had led Morales, whose pronouns are they, she, to check into a mental health center in summer 2022. Morales says they are cautiously excited about the election on Tuesday. Polling looks good for the abortion rights supporters. In an October poll, 58% of Ohio residents said that they would vote in favor of issue 1. But Donald Trump's surprise victory in 2016 tempered her optimism. "I want so much for it to be okay and to pass and to be able to celebrate with everyone," Morales said. "But I think, at least for me, 2016 has shown you don't really know for sure. You can make all the projections and think it's going to pass, but you're never 100% sure." Preterm staffers are preparing both logistically and emotionally for the possibility that the ban will snap back into effect. They are ready to provide patients with the resources they need to potentially go out of state. It's very nerve-wracking to have to wait, but having to make those phone calls again is just a nightmare. So we shall see what happens tomorrow night. So I guess we will really, really know. It's going to be quite a few hours, but we'll definitely be able to talk about it more on Wednesday. Y'all go ahead, jump in the comments and let me know what you think. Another example of these emotionals failing and flailing out of South Korea. This article says South Korean man attacks shop clerk he thought was a feminist. Definitely an example of failing and flailing. A man in South Korea has been arrested for a late night attack on a female convenience store worker after thinking she was a feminist. This is that's a reason for attacking someone. Closed caption TV footage showed the man in his 20s entering the store in the southeastern city of Jeonju after midnight and attacking this woman. He also assaulted another customer in his 50s who tried to intervene. Police said he had attacked the woman because she had short hair, so assumed she was a feminist. He said, "Since you have short hair, you must be a feminist. I'm a male chauvinist, and I think feminists deserve to be assaulted." He told he told her, according to police comments reported by the Korean Herald newspaper. He continued his assault until he was stopped by police who arrived on the scene. Authorities said he had been in a drunken state and was previously diagnosed and treated for schizophrenia. Among economically advanced countries, South Korea is frequently ranked as one of the worst for working women with poor gender equality. Anti feminist feeling has also increased in recent years, particularly among young men who feel they have been disadvantaged by reverse discrimination. After Friday's attack, the woman in her 20s suffered serious ear and ligament injuries but was not in a life threatening condition, police said. The intervening customer also suffered face and shoulder fractures after being hit with a chair. Police said they had applied for a warrant on Sunday to keep the alleged perpetrator in custody. The woman with short cropped hair had been the target of attacks before in South Korea, where many misogynistic commenters associate the hairstyle with feminism, a term that has been equated with being a man hater. In 2021, a viral solidarity campaign saw women showing off their short hairstyles in defense of an Olympic archer who won several gold medals at the Tokyo Games but received a torrent of abuse online for having short hair. Now, I've been talking about South Korea. Just last week, I talked about how women in their 30s were entering the workforce more. I've also talked about how the birth rate has plummeted off a cliff. And many people talk about the economy. They put a price tag on these women's wombs. They talk about the pension and the aging population, but they do not talk about what the women in South Korea are facing. So this bottom paragraph talked about what happened with the Olympic archer in 2021. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about short hair. So this article came out in 2021. Why South Korean women are reclaiming their short hair. And this is the archer. When South Korean archer An San won 3 Olympic gold medals in Tokyo, what greeted her back home wasn't just praise. There was a flood of criticism as well. Why? Because she has short hair. Among the many insults that flew her way, An was labeled a feminist, a loaded term in South Korea often associated with being a man hater. One man said in a post, "It's good she got a gold, but her short hair makes her seem like she's a feminist. If she is, I withdraw my support. All feminists should die." All. Okay. But as criticism of her grew, so did a campaign to defend her. Thousands of women across the country began posting pictures of themselves with short hair, declaring that it did not make them any less of a woman. Women in South Korea have long battled discrimination and misogyny, but over the last decade, they have made steps forward from the country's Me Too campaign to the abolition of its abortion ban. So, will this latest movement do anything to propel further change? Han Ji-young is a woman at the heart of the short hair campaign on Twitter and created it under the hashtag women underscore shortcut underscore campaign. She told the BBC she was troubled when she saw not one or two, but many misogynistic comments about An coming up on every male dominated online community. These anti feminists are largely young men, but also include older men and even some women. This kind of mass attack sends the message that men can control the female body and the message that females need to hide their feminist identity. I thought starting a campaigned for women to show off their short hair and to show solidarity to female Olympians would be effective in tackling both issues. Tens of thousands of images began pouring in, many women showing before and after images of themselves with long hair and short hair. Others said Aung San's hair inspired them to go out and get haircuts themselves. But why is short hair associated with being a feminist? Hwang Jung, author of an upcoming book on South Korea's Me Too movement, said the two were seen as intertwined after Cut the Corset movement in 2018, where young women challenged long-held beauty ideals by wearing short haircuts and no makeup. Since then, short cropped hair has become something of a political statement among many young feminists. The feminist awakening drew a strong backlash by men who thought they had gone too far. Just a reminder, because I've talked about this, I've talked about South Korea, and I will continue to talk about South Korea because their 4B movement has been incredible in what they have done in their country. Their birth rate is 0.78. It has tumbled. And the leaders can't get a hold of it because they are leaning into their anti-feminist rhetoric. And so women are just saying no to marriage, dating, sex, and babies, period. That 4B movement has been clutch and it has been impactful. And they're seeing it. And it's going to impact their economy. It's going to impact social relations. It's going to impact so many things. But I just wanted to remind y'all that their birth rate is at 0.78. It's probably going to be worse come next year when we start to see the numbers. And I am highlighting them because women are not safe globally. And this is showing the power of what women can do when they actually try, when they actually opt out and put action behind their words, action behind their movements. Y'all jump in the comments and let me know what you think. Like, comment, share.